Hello, everyone. So I'm Steve Shrieve from Shrieve Health and Fitness. I've been working in the fitness industry for over 21 years and running my business, Shrieve Health and Fitness, for going into my 11th year now. I focus mainly on helping people feel physically younger, but also work in anti and postnatal fitness, sport-specific fitness, and COVID-19 rehab. I'm here today with Dr. Lindsay Browning, and we're really excited to be doing a collaborative chat today. I actually asked Dr. Browning for her help recently, which I'll tell you a little bit more in a moment. And Lindsay runs a business called Trouble Sleeping. And just from there, I'm going to pass over to Lindsay to introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about her work.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, so I'm Dr. Browning and I'm a sleep expert. That means that my entire focus is on helping people improve their sleep and talking about the importance of good sleep. And I did my doctorate at the University of Oxford studying and treating insomnia. And since 2006, I've been sort of working in the sleep world, helping people sort of one-to-one who are really struggling with the sleep, as well as working with organizations, the NHS police, just general corporate well-being to advise on how best to improve sleep. So yeah, I do everything sleep.
Fantastic. So what I'd like to do is just share a little bit about my story and how I got in touch with Lindsay. So basically, I went through a prolonged period of a few years where I was dealing with some stress in my personal life. And as a result of that stress, it had a very negative impact on my sleep. As a result of that, even when that stress was no longer there and that stress had passed, those sleep habits that had kind of occurred because of that stress I was experiencing remained in my life. And I have a fundamental belief that, sleep is a really, really important part of our health. And especially as someone that likes to live an active lifestyle, I know how important sleep is to get the most out of that active lifestyle and to have the quality of life that I strive for. So I reached out. First of all, I purchased Dr. Browning's book, Navigating Sleeplessness. And then after having read the book, I got in touch with Lindsay to do some work with her. And it's just been an absolute game changer for my sleep. I'm sleeping so much better than I have done, I think, even before I went through that prolonged period of stress that affected my sleep so negatively. And I have a level of robustness about my sleep so that if I do have the odd bad night now, I know what to do about it. I'm armed with those tools to know what to do to enhance my sleep. So after having worked with Dr. Browning, we just had a chat because we both are massive proponents of how important good sleep is for health. And I know that there are so many people walking around feeling tired or just not understanding how important it is to prioritize your sleep for good health. So we wanted to get together to have a chat about all that, just to help spread that message about the value of sleep for health, the value of sleep for performance, and just to kind of spread that message that you don't have to walk around feeling tired every day, and there is something that you can do about it.
Yeah.
So do you think that covers effectively why we wanted to get together
Yeah,
today?
definitely. Because I deal with so many people who just think that being a poor sleeper, not getting enough sleep, waking up feeling tired is just normal, and that's just their life, and there's nothing they can do about it. But that's just not true at all. There is so much people can do to improve their sleep, which will improve their overall well-being and allow them to do all the things they want to do generally in life. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we've kind of semi-structured this chat. So we've got some things that we'd like to cover, but we might also wing it a bit if we go off on a little bit of a tangent. But the first thing we really wanted to discuss, so I wanted to ask you, when you initially read my sleep diary, you said there were some things that I was doing well. And I just wanted to ask what you thought those were so we could share those things with people, and particularly around the exercise side of things, because obviously I do keep an active life as well. So when you initially read my sleep diary, what were your first impressions?
Yeah, so I deal with people with sleeping issues. This is literally my job. And of all the people, you're one of the people who is doing a lot of things right. You're really conscious about getting a lot of light during the day, which is so valuable. Making sure that you're exercising regularly. And if we exercise during the day, it helps us to sleep more soundly, really. Getting active during the day is not only helpful for our sleep, but it's helpful for our mental health, our physical health. And that's so important, because if we're being sluggish, we're not exercising during the day, then it's almost like doing exercise makes you feel more energized, it makes you feel happier. But when you've not slept well, you don't have that motivation to exercise. But if you do anyway, even if you had a bad night, and you had a bad night, you would still do all the things that you're doing, being really physically active. And actually that helps to sort of we generate our own energy by doing that. And if you exercise during the day, then you're more likely to sleep a bit better at night. You are also allowing yourself a decent amount of time to sleep. You weren't napping during the day. You were going to bed at a fairly consistent time and getting up at a fairly consistent time as well, which is really great. So you're really mindful of caffeine, not having any caffeine whatsoever. You weren't drinking lots of alcohol, and alcohol can, lots of people I see, they actually do tend to drink more alcohol if they're not sleeping well, because alcohol is a sedative. So actually you might think, oh, have a couple of drinks, I'll fall asleep quickly. Brilliant. But it wrecks the quality of your sleep. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul almost if you're drinking alcohol. Yes, you can fall asleep quickly, but then the quality of your sleep is rubbish. So what was the point in it? And you're not a drinker. So again, that's a brilliant thing to do. So there was so much stuff that you were doing, having done some research about good sleep hygiene, putting all those things in place, which was fantastic. But the trouble is, when someone's sleep goes wrong, especially if they've gone through some kind of stressful situation and they're not sleeping well and they're really concerned about their sleep, it's almost as if the more things you can tick off, like, well, I've had a sleepy tea, I've done my exercise, I've eaten 2-3 hours before bed, I've avoided caffeine, I've done tick, 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 I should sleep well tonight. And then it's almost like you create this pressure on yourself and on your sleep to make sleep happen. And that's when it goes wrong. So as part of what we did was to kind of take apart some of those things, and to understand that some of the good sleep hygiene stuff can be taken to an extreme where it becomes unhelpful. So
Absolutely. And I find people get, when you talk about that link between exercise and sleep, people can get in a bit of a self-defeating cycle almost, don't they? Because they feel tired because they're not sleeping well. So then they think, oh, I'm too tired to exercise. And then they don't exercise. And then that further reduces their ability to get good sleep. And I'm really honest with the people I work with, because what I want people to know is that even though I'm a fitness professional, I'm still a real person. So, I'm honest with people, and I tell them things like, I don't always want to work out all the time, but I do because of this, this, and this. And I tell stories about, there have been times where I felt tired or felt like I was too tired to exercise. But because I've been doing it for as long as I have, I know that when I do that exercise, it's going to make me feel better.
yeah.
And actually, when you are feeling tired and you do some exercise, it actually makes you feel more energetic. So then you get that double effect of kind of, it makes you feel better in the moment, it gets the blood circulating, makes you feel more energetic, but it's also going to have a positive impact on your sleep at night as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just so easy to, when you're feeling tired, it's the last thing you want to do. A little bit like when you're depressed. If you're depressed, someone's depressed, they don't want to get out of bed. They don't want to go and meet friends. They don't want to do things. But by not doing those things because you feel sad, then you feel even more sad because you're not doing the things. It becomes this vicious cycle. So yeah, exercise and sleep are like that. If you're not exercising because you're tired, then you're going to feel more tired, and then you're not going to sleep well because you didn't exercise, then it's just going to get worse and worse. So yeah, even if you wake up and you've had a terrible night's sleep, just doing something that you can do, doesn't have to
Yeah.
be the massive hit workout you were planning, at least doing something is going to get those, your heart pumping, get those endorphins going, help you to feel more awake and alive, get you through the day. And the next night you won't be as stressed and anxious that your day was ruined because of your lack of sleep, because you didn't ruin it, you got on with it anyway, and then you'll feel more relaxed and you'll sleep better, and it'll become a positive spiral instead of a negative one.
I love what you said about, like, it doesn't have to be that hit workout,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm a big believer in exercise should be appropriate to the person and situation.
Yeah.
So, and even research studies have shown that when we adjust our exercise to our levels of energy, levels of fatigue, levels of stress, and so on, we actually get better results than when we just try to go hard all the time. So, you just because you're feeling tired, it doesn't mean that you have to be like regimented and going out and going really hard and doing that really hard workout. You can do an easier, lighter workout that's still going to give you health benefits, still going to help you move your fitness forward, but without adding to that fatigue that you're already feeling from the sleep. And I'm a big proponent of things like stretching, because stretching has a brilliant ability to help reduce muscle tension and relax us and things like that. And I think that can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. And sleep specifically, doing some sort of evening yoga, evening stretching is a really good way of relaxing both your body and your mind, getting you in a good place, ready for sleep, as well as relaxing your muscles and meaning that you're going to prepare and be able to do more exercise the next day.
Absolutely. And for people who might be watching this who are physically active as well, people who are physically active are always looking for that thing that they can do to help get the best results from their active lifestyle, from their exercise program. And quite often those things will come at a cost, but sleep is something that's really, fundamental to our well-being, that can also really enhance the results that we can get from our exercise. And there have been studies and certainly research around high intensity training programs that have shown that actually active people might need more sleep. And that does make sense, because active people need more nutrients through their diet, they need more water. So why wouldn't they need more sleep as well? And you get fitter by recovering from exercise, and sleep is a huge part of that. So kind of going along those lines, for people who are interested in their health and interested in their well-being, why is sleep so important for people who value their health?
Yeah, well, sleep and sort of exercise, there are two benefits really to it. So, as you said, sleep is the time when your body rests and repairs. And if you're not sleeping enough, your body isn't going to have the time to do that. And tons of research has shown that Olympic athletes, and I work with athletes and and people in the sporting world, and getting more sleep is genuinely what you need. But of course, everyone's time poor. We want to maximize our time. We want to do more training. Maybe if you're you're in the swimming world, you're up at the early hours of the morning to be in the pool before it opens to the general public, and therefore sleep is something that starts to get sacrificed. Whereas actually, the more physically actively you are, especially if you're looking at those extra, that extra 1%, making yourself that little bit better, getting more sleep has been shown to increase reaction times. It's prone to increase speed, stamina. It increases almost every aspect of sporting performance. And it's not just after the event, it's also before. So with training, if you sleep well before, you're going to run the race faster. But if you sleep well after training, you're going to encompass and sort of memorize, and that training, that learning, that practice that you've been doing is going to be more ingrained in your brain, because sleep is the time when we not only physically repair, but our brain sorts out and stores all those memories. And if you're learning new things, you'll need more sleep. And of course, if you're learning, you're training new skills, you're trying a new technique, a new running stance, a new, I'm not a professional athlete, I don't know the terms for these things, but like if you're a golfer and you change your swing, all these things are new and learning, and you're going to need potentially more sleep because your brain is adapting to that. So it's so important to be aware of the impact that sleep has on athletic performance, especially if you're traveling, and if you're a professional athlete, you're going to be traveling around the world, and you're going to have issues such as staying in hotels and traveling when you want to be asleep, and jet lag and all those things. But also just for the day-to-day, being able to be the best that you can, it may be that the 7 to 9 hours that's recommended for us mere mortals who are not professional athletes is potentially not enough. Professional athletes may well need more like 10, maybe even 11 hours sleep. Who knows? Because they're so physically active. And just as you said, you need more calories, you need so much more, because you're physically using your body a lot more. And then there's the second part, that sleep and sort of exercise, which is for people who maybe aren't professional athletes looking to be that extra 1% better than their competitors, is if you're valuing your health, and maybe you're looking at being healthy and losing weight as part of exercise. And lots of people, I think, go try and up their exercise levels because they want to get fitter and maybe lose some weight. And if you're not sleeping enough, then you're actually, the exercise to lose weight is potentially a little bit pointless, because your hormones that regulate the food that you crave and how much food you crave get out of whack, basically, because sleep's the time when our hormones get regulated, and ghrelin, leptin are our hunger and satiation hormones. And we basically we can eat the same amount of food, but if we've not slept well, then we won't feel satiated by that same amount of food. If you've slept well, you eat, I don't know, a 400-calorie meal and you feel, oh, I feel great. If you've not slept well, you eat the 400-calorie meal and your body is like, no, 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 we need more food. So you end up eating more calories. And also, you tend to choose less healthy choices. So people who sleep for studies sort of 5 hours or less tend to choose things like the sugary, sweet, fatty, rubbishy carbohydrate choices. Whereas if you sleep well, you're more likely to choose the healthier food types. So it's so important. And loads of people that I work with, if you're trying to get fit and go to the gym, you might think, oh well, I'll wake up an hour or two early to go to the gym, because I'm a busy person, I've got a job, I've got kids, I've got friendships, I've got social life. That's when I can fit it in. And that's great to go to the gym you get up at 5 and go to the gym, but you need to go to bed earlier if you're getting up an hour or two earlier. And that's what people don't do. They're sacrificing sleep to go to the gym. And going to the gym is great. Getting fit is great. I am a massive, massive advocate of eating well, exercising. But if you're doing those things at the expense of sleep, it's kind of pointless. It's like going to the gym, but then going to McDonald's on the way home, as much as I like McDonald's. Secret pleasure of mine. But yeah, it's just not, it's pointless. Like, you need to look at all those things if you're really wanting to be the best you can be, not just pick one of them and sacrifice the others.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And there's a few things that you said there that really stood out to me as well, especially like, it's not just athletes that are constantly learning. Anybody that's engaging in an exercise routine is going through a learning process, learning new exercises, learning new techniques. And that's brilliant. It's really good for our brains to go through that process. But like you said, you need that sleep to be able to consolidate that learning process that you're going through. And like, it's a discussion I have with lots of people all the time. When you're exercising, you're putting a stress on your body, and your body gets stronger and fitter by recovering from that stress. And a lot of that happens when you sleep. And I think the way that sleep ties into kind of weight loss and nutrition is really interesting. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because certainly if anybody says something to me like, I've got real bad sweet cravings, and I don't know what to do and how I can get control of these sweet cravings, the first thing I ask them is, how well are you sleeping?
Yeah.
It's really impactful, and people often don't realize. And there are so many things that can distract us from sleep these days. And one thing that came up when we were having initial conversations as well is what you mentioned as well, about people getting up super early to exercise before work because they're busy. And I always said, I'm dead against that if it means that you're missing out on sleep. Because if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to get the benefits of that exercise, or not to the fullest that you could be. And so we have to find other ways of working that exercise into your life. I'd rather you go and do half the amount of exercise you were planning on doing before work than missing out on that sleep in your lunch break. So then that can be more effective and more high quality exercise, and then you'll get the sleep at night to be able to recover from that exercise and get the benefits from it.
Yeah. But of course, real life is hard.
It is.
We're real people. And if you're juggling responsibilities, something's got to give at some
Yeah.
point. And again, exercising close to bedtime isn't really recommended, because if you exercise quite close to bedtime, you're physically be on, your adrenaline, or you're going to be really alert and also physically very hot, and your heart's going to be racing because you've just done a big workout, if it's not like the relaxing yoga. And doing that right before sleep is going to make falling asleep a bit harder. However, if that's the only time they can exercise is once the kids have gone to bed and that's the only time they've got, I would much rather they did that and just accept that, okay, maybe you're not going to be able to go to sleep when you wanted to, because you need a little bit of a 20-minute, half an hour wind down time before bed to help you cool down. Because yes, I want you to do the exercise. I don't want it to be, it's not an either or thing. It's
Yeah.
about finding a way in your life to have some exercise, get sufficient sleep, and eat well that isn't going to impact the others. So sleep isn't the most important thing, is what I'm saying. They're all important,
Yeah.
and we have to be realistic and flexible with that. And if 5 a.m. is the only time you can do your exercise, then okay, do it. But be mindful that you probably really should be going to bed at 9 instead of your usual 11 p.m. bedtime.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things as well. It can feel a lot of overwhelming, a lot of overwhelm for a lot of people because, if they really want to be healthy, there are so many areas of their life they need to look at: exercise, nutrition, sleep, mental health, how they're managing their stress, things like that. And certainly, I like to encourage people that just pick one thing and work on that first. So even when people come to me and say, I want help with exercise and nutrition, I say, well, let's start with the exercise. Let's make that a habit first and then let's work on the nutrition. Because if you try and do too much at once, you're going to overwhelm yourself and then everything's going to fall apart and you're going to achieve nothing. So for sure, like breaking things down into steps and working on one thing at a time. And as we've mentioned, there is a link between exercise and sleep as well. So, picking one of those and working on one is definitely going to impact the other positively.
Yeah. And it's like mental health and sleep are linked. People who don't sleep well tend to be more anxious and depressed. And if you just try and improve someone's sleep, just by just getting them to get better sleep, they generally become less anxious and happier anyway. So whichever one of those things, exercise, eating well, sleep, whichever thing you look at, mental health, the others are going to just improve a little bit, probably as a bit of a byproduct. So you don't need to attack all of them at once. Just by doing one, it will have a knock-on effect in your whole life overall.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's often underestimated how we can make one positive change in our life and it can impact the whole of our lives. And I find stuff like that really exciting. I think that's really cool, that snowball effect. So that leads on really nicely to my next question. So looking at non-athletes, looking at just people in general, what are the health benefits of making sure you're sleeping well, and what kind of things are you reducing the risk of if you're sleeping well?
Sure. So people who don't get enough sleep, there are two reasons for that. So one is they know sleep's important and they're trying to sleep, but their brain won't let them sleep. And that's kind of why you came to see me, because you
Where I
know sleep's
was.
important. You wanted to
Yeah,
sleep, but you lie down, you're like, I can't sleep.
yeah.
And then there's the other group of people who, yeah, sleep's not that important. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Kind of, I'll fill my life with all these other things I want to do. And then if I've only got 5, 6 hours left to sleep tonight, then so be it. Or I'll go to bed with the intention of going to sleep, but then I'll get engrossed in something from my phone, and then oops, it's an hour or two later, I'll go to sleep now. And they're two very different approaches. So for those people who just aren't prioritizing their sleep, they really just don't think it's important. That's where it's I really want to explain how massively important sleep is for everyone's life. It affects every single aspect pretty much of your existence. It affects your mental health, it affects your physical health. You're less likely to catch the flu if you've slept well. You're more likely to lose weight if you're trying to lose weight if you slept well. You're at a lower risk of certain types of cancers if you slept well. You're lowering your risk of dementia if you slept well. You're lowering your risk of heart attacks, diabetes, obesity. The list like genuinely goes on and on and on. And as I say to people, if I had a pill I could give you and say, oh, this pill's going to help you sleep well, would you like to buy it for £1 a pill, £2 a pill? I would be a multi-millionaire because everyone would want to buy this pill. But the great thing is sleep is free. You don't have to pay anyone to sleep. You just have to lie down in bed and make sure that the environment and everything is in a good enough place that sleep's likely to happen, and sleep will happen. So for those people who are not prioritizing their sleep, I really, really, really would encourage them to think about the fact that if you're 18 to 65, 18 to 64, you should be, according to the science, getting somewhere between 7 to 9 hours sleep regularly. And if you do, your health benefits, you're just huge. It's really you're going to be so much healthier and happier. Um, but if you're not even giving yourself 7 to 9 hours in bed, then of course you're not going to achieve that. And also, it's not just about the average, it's about the regularity of it. There's also a lot of research to show that feast and famine approach to sleep, which lots of us do, as in Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, you're working, you're busy, you have to work late, you have to get up really early to travel to your work, you're juggling a million responsibilities. There just simply isn't time to get the 7 to 9 hours sleep. So then you try and top up at the weekend by having a big lie-in or having a big nap. And there, the health benefits are much, much greater if you get 7 to 9 hours every single day. But of course, that's boring. But again, an example I give of that is healthy eating. Healthy eating is boring. I mean, it is. I mean, we'd all rather sit around and just sit in our pajamas, eating chocolate, watching Netflix all day long. But the we can't just eat rubbish food Monday to Thursday and then at the weekend go, oh, well, I'll eat salads and that'll mean on balance I'm really healthy, because you need to eat well all the time. And just like sleep's the same, we need to sleep well regularly. We can't just bank it up and then, spend it during the week. It just doesn't work that well. So yeah, that's a thing that people often get wrong. They think, oh, well, on average, I'm getting enough sleep, even though it's not really it. But that's like, on average, I'm eating well. I just happen to eat rubbish for 3 days a week and then have
Yeah.
smoothies and juice plans for whatever.
Yeah, and that's really interesting as well, because I think you're right. When you mention, oh, healthy eating boring, the first thing that came into my mind is, if you watch any TV program, count up how many adverts in the commercial break are for food, and not one of them will be for bananas, right? And
Mhm.
people, that kind of wanting a bit of excitement in our lives, a lot of things kind of are designed to target that. But I think whether we want to improve nutrition or exercise or sleep, and improving my sleep was hard work. And you were honest. I loved that about you. You were so honest with me. You said, look, this is going to be hard. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, totally agree. And I accept that. I'm willing to do the hard work. And the reason that I was willing to do that was because I knew that the benefits that I would get from it would be worth it. And I think that's the important thing, is for anyone wanting to improve their health or improve their sleep or anything else, you have to know why you're doing it and why that matters to you. And I think the things that you've mentioned about all of the things that you can reduce the risk of health-wise just by sleeping better, that's massively worthwhile. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that reduction of all of those things that can be devastating if they affect us?
Yeah, and mental health, happiness. I mean,
Yeah,
you get more sleep. If you're not sleeping enough and then you get the right amount of sleep, you're going to be happier and less anxious. And I know I said everyone wants to sit around watching Netflix and eating chocolate. I'm being facetious, really, because I know as much as you that actually, if you do eat well, you eat a balanced, nutritious diet, you exercise well, you get enough sleep, actually you feel great. But it's
you
just
do.
in that moment you think, wow, do I really want to put my jacket on and go to the gym, or it's raining, or do I want to just sit here? We choose the easy option, but the easy option isn't going to make us happy in the long term. And once we make those difficult choices, and like you just said, improving your sleep when it's not working is hard. It's like getting a six pack. I mean, I don't have one because it's too hard. I mean, it involves making a lot of choices and making decisions and eating certain things and doing exercise and commitment. But the thing is, once you make those changes and you're committed to them over time, you start to see that improvement. And improving your sleep isn't oh, well, here's this magic tip that you can do tonight and you'll sleep brilliantly. It doesn't work like that. In the same way, there's no, well, just do this exercise for 2 minutes and you'll have a six pack. It's about consistency and putting the work in and changing. And as you do that over time, your sleep improves and you just feel so much better, just the same way that everything else is. There is no easy fix. There just isn't. And everyone wants that easy fix.
For sure. And in the interest of full disclosure, the work I've done with you has been massively beneficial to me. And one of my big motivators was productivity. I knew that was feeling tired was making me less productive, making everything that I had to do harder, making everything I had to do slower. And that was the change I wanted in my life. I didn't want to walk around with that tired feeling anymore. I didn't want to feel like that tiredness was just slowing me down all the time. And I wanted to just feel like I was being the best version of myself. And I couldn't do that in that tired state I was in. And I knew, you talk about the consistency. Since we've done that work together, I've had the odd bad night's sleep. I've had the odd, and again, you were very honest with me. You told me this is normal, this is going to happen. But I also know that in terms of behavior change, we've not really hit the maintenance phase with that until we've been doing it for 90 days. And, I knew that in order for me to maintain the things that you'd worked on with me, I couldn't just go, right, we've done our last session today. My sleep's cured for life. I'm never going to have to put any more effort into it. I knew that I would have to keep revisiting those techniques to get to that maintenance phase. And that's what I've done. But to do that is so worthwhile, to just be feeling so much better. And
Yeah, and it's not just health benefits, like you said, it's irritability, it's reaction times, which obviously for sport, but also if you're a gamer, I don't know, you want to have the best reaction times, and people who don't sleep well, they're not as on it in exams. You're not going to do as well as your exam.
yeah,
You're not going to. There's people are more likely to lie and take risks if they've not slept well. And I work with the police and security firms, and you don't want your security guards at risk of missing something or taking a bribe because they're tired. And the
yeah,
reality is, if you haven't slept well, you're more likely to break the law, to take risks, to do dodgy things and not see the signs of stuff going on around you because you're just sluggish and not paying attention. So yeah, sleep doesn't just affect your health, it affects your mental ability to function and your mood and just everything really.
yeah. And that brings us on to the next sort of point I've got on my semi-structured list here, which was, talking about sleep and performance, which you've already covered already, but specifically in the context of sort of people who are fit or people who do sport. But when I actually wrote that down, talking about sleep and performance, I was really thinking like for life ability, because we're all performing, we're all husbands, wives, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. We're all workers in jobs we do. So, let's talk about sleep and for performance, because for me, that sleeping well, it spills into every area of your life, and it allows you to be a better person no matter who you're with or what you're doing, and to be able to react and respond to other people's needs and do your job well, no matter what you're doing and things like that. Motivation, making good choices. If you're trying to make any good health choice, whether it be to exercise more or to eat more healthily, it's harder to motivate yourself to do those things and to have that willpower when you're feeling tired. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Willpower is absolutely affected. Mood, everything, just everything. If everyone's had a time where they've not slept well, and how difficult the next day is. And if that is every single day, just day after day, and you're not getting enough sleep and you're feeling bad, it's not great. And that's why when people don't prioritize their sleep and they just stay up and watch that, like BBC iPlayer, Netflix, next episode starting in 15 seconds, you meant to
Yeah,
go to bed and then oh, it's just started now. Oh, I'll just watch the next one. It's so easy to be dragged into that. Oh no, how can it be 1 in the morning? I meant to go to bed at 10:30. But they're designed to be addictive. And things like, Twitter, now known as X, like you're scrolling through it, you don't get to the bottom and you go, oh, I finished it. Oh, that's good. I'll go to bed now, because it's infinite. It's
yeah,
literally designed to be addictive. All that social media, all that TV, all those gaming, everything is designed to be addictive, so we don't stop. So we don't think, oh gosh, I really should go to bed now. So we have to put some kind of process in place to remind ourselves. And not everyone has like ultimate willpower. And that's why things on your phones to remind you to go to bed actually can be really, really helpful. The bedtime alarm, or having a set time when you think, right, I will, at 10 or whatever, I'll stop watching screens or I'll stop on my phone, isn't just because that light exposure can be bad for your sleep, which it can, but it's also to give you that ability to not be drawn into the next episode of whatever. And TV is great. I love watching the next episode of whatever, but
Yeah.
the next morning you just feel terrible and you just think, why did I do that? Just like having that extra glass of wine. You're like, why? Why did I do that? I should have stopped and gone to bed. And I had those extra 2 glasses of wine and now I feel terrible for the whole day. It's about making good choices for the next day.
Absolutely. And entertainment has totally changed, hasn't it? You know, I'm a Star Trek fan. And
Mhm.
if you look at the original series of Star Trek, each episode would be its own isolated story.
Yeah.
And then the credits would roll and that would be it. Whereas now, like anything you watch, pretty much any episode of anything will end on a cliffhanger and you're
Yeah.
like, want to watch the next one now. And yet again, you like you say, you get that little thing in the corner of the screen saying next
You have
episode,
15
15
seconds to make
seconds.
that decision and you're like, oh, it's on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in those moments, it's about being able to do that self-evaluation. Yes, I know I'm really enjoying this, but is it the worth the cost of being the best husband I'm going to be to my wife tomorrow, or performing well in my job, or just not walking around all day feeling like there's a massive fog in my head? You know, it's kind of weighing those things up, isn't it? And kind of knowing why those health benefits and the good things that you're going to get from prioritizing your sleep, you're going to get those things back. And you can still go and enjoy that show, that next episode tomorrow. It's not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Yeah. And it's about making choices about how you spend your time, that active choice, because so often we just sucked into something and no one has ever the next day said, oh, I'm so glad I spent that 2 hours scrolling through social media, scrolling through TikTok. That no one, because we know it's just that instant dopamine hit kind of
Yeah,
situation. Whereas, and same with, you know, eating a whole packet of biscuits or eating your entire Easter egg selection 2 days after Easter. At the time, you're like, oh, yeah, I'll just do it. You're not thinking. But the next day, it's always that regret. And you wish that you had made different choices. So it's really about trying to be in the moment, being mindful of what do I really want to do? Do I really want to do this at the expense of sleep, at the expense of not exercising, at the expense of having a conversation with my family? Yeah, because all of us on our phones, we could digress into, you know, all those things. But yeah, you're lying in bed, your partner's next to you, you're both scrolling through your phones. Where's your relationship being built at that point as
yeah.
well?
And something that I say to people about exercise, with particularly people who struggle to motivate themselves to exercise, I say, don't make it about the exercise. Make it about what the exercise gives you back. If you skip that workout, you're not really skipping the workout. You're skipping those higher energy levels that you want to have. You're skipping building that strength that you want to have, that stamina that you want to have to get through every day. Those are the things you're skipping. It's not the exercise. And it's the same with the sleep, isn't it? If you're choosing not to sleep, you're choosing not to feel good the next day and not to be as productive as you want to be the next day.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, what I've got next on my list is what sleep tips would you give to people who find it difficult to get on a regular sleep schedule? So I was thinking about people who have to travel for work or people who have to work overnight and shift workers and things like that. Because there are lots of people, we know the importance of getting on a regular sleep schedule and but not everybody has that luxury just due to their occupation
Yeah.
or the things they've got going on.
Yeah,
What
definitely. I do a lot of work with shift workers. It's a huge part of my work. So one thing, if you're a shift worker, rather than someone traveling, if you're a shift worker, you're going to be coming home quite a lot of the time and needing to sleep during the day. And one of the biggest blockers to that is your family. Because much as we love our family, if you're at home during the middle of the day, your family might expect you to answer the door for the Amazon delivery. They might expect you to attend that school PTA meeting. They might expect you to, oh, can you just pop to the shops and get milk because we're running out because you're there. But the reality is, if you're a shift worker, I really want you to think about your sleep and value it the same way that someone would do overnight. And no one would say, oh, well, can you wake up at 2 in the morning and get the Amazon delivery? Or can you go at 3 and meet so and so? Think about giving yourself a time when you get back from the shift, during the day, that you dedicate to sleep, that you talk to your family about it. This is really key. Talk to your family and say, look, I need to have a block of time to sleep. And I know I'm here, but I can't be answering the door. Please, some deliveries, you can get them delivered to a pickup location, just because a person's there. Get the agreement with your family. A tip I suggest is put a note on your door, on your bedroom door. I'm sleeping until 3 p.m. Just so they know, they don't have to knock on the door and check if you're sleeping, so that the communication is there and that agreement is there between your family that you need that block of time. And then getting to sleep can be difficult because you're sleeping when the world's awake and your body isn't necessarily wanting you to sleep, and that's a bit of a jet lag issue that applies to travel as well. So one of the top things to be able to sleep when your body maybe isn't ready to do so is to have a consistent pre-bedtime routine. Now, pre-bedtime routine, if you're a 9 to 5 worker, might be, brushing your teeth, reading a book, maybe doing a bit of yoga, listening to the music, whatever it is. Doing that same thing before bed all the time means you're giving your brain those signals that sleep is coming. And if you think about, when we're babies, we've got babies, we give them a bedtime routine. We give them a bath, milk, story, bed. And we use the same words, we use the same scents in the bath, we say the same things, do the same thing in the same order. And then the baby or the young child is feeling sleepy and yawning, and maybe you are, before they've even gone to bed, because they know sleep is coming. And yet, when we become adults, we just chuck that out the window. We don't do that anymore. We just think, oh no, I need to maximize my time and do everything up until the second before I go to sleep. Then, right, sleep. And your brain hasn't got into that sleep mode yet. And we can't just flick from busy working stress into instant sleep. So if you're a shift worker, make sure you have a pre-bedtime routine. It's almost more important for people who go to sleep at different times, because you don't get the darkness, you don't get the melatonin surge telling your body it's bedtime. So maybe read a book before bed, whatever time that is. Maybe have a particular tea that you drink before bed, like a sleepy tea, or a decaf tea, or a particular drink that has a taste that your brain thinks, oh yes, this taste means sleep's going to be soon. Maybe use a pillow spray, maybe listen to a particular piece of music, whatever it is for you. And I'm not saying that sleepy teas or sleepy pillow sprays are going to magically make you sleep better. But if you use them consistently, it's a signal to your brain that sleep is coming. I'm a really good sleeper, and I use a sleepy spray just because I like it. It smells nice, and it's part of my pre-bedtime routine. And again, I like a sleepy tea. It's just part of that. It's just helping me tell my brain, whatever time it is, wherever I am in the world. I travel a lot for work. Wherever I am, whatever location I am, whatever time zone I'm in, I'm giving my brain the indication that, yeah, means sleep's going to be soon. And that can be really, really helpful. And if you are a shift worker as well, then make sure that your home has double glazing and really, really, really dark curtains, like blackout curtains. And if you can't afford those, or you don't have them, then get an eye mask. And if you're traveling, travel with an eye mask, because you can't guarantee the hotel you're going to stay in is going to have great quality curtains. I literally do travel with my pillow sometimes, because I know that my pillow is great. I love it. Again, it's that consistency. And the hotel I'm staying at, I don't know how the pillow is going to be. Some hotels have fantastic beds, pillows, linen. Some of them don't. So if you do want to have that consistency, traveling with a pillow, eye mask can be a really good thing as well.
Amazing. That is really
A lot
comprehensive.
of
I love
tips,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I will say as well that I travel with my pillow as well, for that very reason. You just don't know what you're going to get. And, especially, I don't know about you, but I took a long time choosing my pillow.
Mhm.
So, you know that it's going to give you that comfort and that you can take it with you. But what I found really interesting there, something that you brought up as well, which again is something that's very similar in the way we work, is what I really came across there and picked out was the importance of communication. So, talking to your family members about, not, this is when I'm going to sleep, this is when I'm going to be getting up, and making sure you're not going to be disturbed. And that's something that I often speak to people about as well, is the importance of communication, because you can't do everything on your own, particularly when you're making positive change or trying to make positive change. I think it's really important to make people around you aware of why that change is really important to you. So like for, the example of someone trying to improve their sleep, just say that I want to be the best that I can be around you, and I want to feel the best that I can be every day, and that's really important. I want my health to be really good. So it's really important. I'm asking you for your support with this, because if I'm sleeping better, I can be better for you and for you and do a better job of taking care of you. And it's the same with exercise, nutrition, things like that. I say to people that, finding time for exercise is hard. Are you the person that's doing all the jobs in the house? Do you need to communicate with your family and explain why this health change is so important to you and the fact that it's going to benefit them as well? And just ask for some help. Can you take these jobs off my hand a couple of times a week just so that I can have that time for myself? And that's really interesting that there's those parallels. But the thing that ties them together is the communication aspect and being willing to ask for help and speak about your needs and what you need to be the healthiest version of you.
Yeah, and like you said, it's for them, it's for your loved ones,
Yeah.
because if you're running yourself into the ground, if you're not healthy enough and you're going to get more sick, they'll have to look after you. If you're going to end up in hospital with a heart attack, God forbid, that's going to put huge strain and pressure on your family. Whereas if you can just make these changes that, okay, maybe I'm not going to unload the dishwasher and my partner's going to sort it out for me while I hop on the exercise bike. It's a small change for a huge improvement benefit. And if you're a partner with someone who snores, if they lose a bit of weight, then maybe they'll not snore so much, and then your sleep will be better, as will theirs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, what are your top misconceptions about sleep or sleeping well that you'd like to debunk or let people know about?
Sure. Though lots of people have sleep trackers. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I've got a sleep tracker. I don't wear it at night though. Now, sleep trackers can be fantastic at helping you to get a picture of where you are. But a lot of times when I deal with people who are athletes who want to be the best, they start, you'll be tracking everything, water intake, weight, everything, like in great detail. And the reality is, if you start to track your sleep in tiny detail, it can be really, really helpful. I mean, it can, because it can show, yeah, you know what, I haven't been giving myself 7 to 9 hours in bed, and actually I am not sleeping at a consistent time. And yeah, maybe I need to make some improvements there. And that can be really helpful. But also, it can have an opposite effect. It can start to be detrimental, because if you start to analyze and track something so minutely, you can start getting really stressed and anxious about it. And I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but if someone's trying to lose weight, I would imagine they don't weigh themselves every single day. It's
definitely
more of
not.
a once a week kind of thing. If you were to weigh
Yeah,
yourself every day or several times a day, there's going to be such fluctuations in your natural weight that it's going to be unhelpful, and you
yeah,
might start to get stressed and anxious.
yeah,
So with your sleep trackers can become unhelpful, because they can give you too much detail, and that detail may not even be accurate, because they're not, I mean, polysomnography is when you stick electrodes on your head, and while someone's sleeping, well, you stick them on before they're sleeping. That would be weird if you like just got in and stuck them when they were sleeping. Yeah, you stick electrodes on the head, they go to sleep, and you can monitor their brain activity through the night to see how well they're sleeping, which sleep stages they're in, really great detail about their sleep. Sleep trackers are on your wrist or on your finger or your phone next to your bed. That's not where your brain is. Your brain is here.
mm,
And as effective as they are, and they're getting better, but they're still not completely accurate, because they're just sort of guessing on how you're sleeping based on your heart rate and your movement. And if you've ever been someone who's not slept well, poor sleepers tend to lie very, very still, and their heart rate can be quite low. And actually, your wrist may well think that you're asleep when you're not, or vice versa. And if you're being given detail from a sleep tracker that maybe is inaccurate, you can start to worry, maybe wrongly, about your sleep. And then you start to become so worried about your sleep based on something that may not even be true, that now you're so worried that you can't sleep because you're worrying about your sleep. And before you know it, you're not sleeping because you've been tracking your sleep. And also, sleep trackers can give you information about things that without context can be unhelpful. So two really important things are deep sleep and awakenings. So deep sleep, if you get a sleep tracker, it will say you've spent X percentage of the night in deep sleep, this percentage in light sleep, this percentage in REM sleep. Now, most people who call me up, Dr. Browning, can help with your sleep, say, I need to get more deep sleep because my sleep tracker says I spend half the night in light sleep, in the bad quality light sleep, and I need to spend the whole night in the good quality deep sleep. To which I say, no, you don't, because deep sleep isn't good sleep. It is good for you, but so is light sleep, and so is REM sleep. They are all good for you. It's like a plate of food. If you've got a plate of food, broccoli, really, really good for you. No one would disagree, I'm sure. Broccoli is really good for you. Broccoli is like deep sleep. Yes, it's really good for you. But if you only ate broccoli, an entire plate of broccoli for every meal, that wouldn't be healthy because you wouldn't have enough calcium, carbohydrate, protein. You need all the different food groups to be healthy. And actually, a night's sleep, to be healthy, you need light sleep, you need deep sleep, and you need REM sleep, dreaming sleep. You need those different parts of sleep. And actually, for a healthy 21-year-old, which is kind of when our sleep's the most perfect it can be, we would spend about 22% of the night in deep sleep, maximum. And then the older we get, it can start to diminish. I'm long since 21. There's no way I get 22% of the night in deep sleep. It will be less than that because I've got older. So yeah, lots of people, they get sleep trackers and they get too much detail. They start to obsess. It makes them really stressed. They start to stress about deep sleep specifically and trying to spend the entire night in deep sleep. And that would be really bad indeed. And then awakenings. So when we fall asleep, we have these things called sleep cycles. So approximately, please don't start divvying your night up into chunks, but approximately hour and a half chunks where we have a sleep cycle. When we go light sleep, deep sleep, and back through light sleep to REM sleep. And then the next sleep cycle will start, and then the next. Now, in between each sleep cycle, everyone wakes up. Everyone does. But you'll only wake up for most of the time, just so briefly that you just adjust the covers, roll over, go back to sleep again, and you won't realize you woke up. And the next morning, you might go, oh, wow, what a great night's sleep I had. I went to bed at 10:30, woke up at 7, slept solidly, no awakenings, great night's sleep. You definitely did wake up through the night, but you just don't realize it because you weren't awake long enough to realize you were awake. And then two things happen. One, you get a sleep tracker and it says, oh, you woke up 4 times last night, and you think, oh no, this is terrible. I woke up 4 times. This is so bad. I need to sleep continually in one solid block for it to be healthy and good. But that's not true because sleep by its very definition is in these chunks. Or you you get a bit older, or you go through something stressful, and the older we get, these awakenings, we start to realize that we're having them, 1 or 2 of them. You hit menopause and you might have a hot flash and you wake up in the night and you think, oh no, my sleep's now broken. I'm having broken sleep because I'm waking up in the night, or I need to wake up and I need to go to the loo. This is terrible. If only I could not need the toilet in the night, I would have a great night's sleep. Those things are not helpful because we've always been waking up in the night. We just didn't realize it. And as soon as we start to think that waking up in the night is inherently the problem, if we're just waking up and realizing it once, maybe twice a night, that's really normal and it's okay. As long as you go back to sleep again relatively quickly, that's not a problem. It's not broken sleep. Your sleep isn't suddenly bad quality. And loads of people, they call me up and say, can you help me sleep solidly without waking? To which I always say, no, I literally can't. That's impossible. But unless you're given that information about what normal sleep looks like, then you can start to worry about something that isn't normal. And then before you know it, you're so stressed and anxious about your sleep that you're struggling to fall asleep because you're just so worried about sleep. And then you're not getting 7 to 9 hours because you're just so worried about the fact that you can't make your sleep this perfect, entirely deep sleep, no awakenings that you think is what it should be.
And there's loads in there that you've mentioned that I can really relate to, because I know one of my big fears when I was struggling was I was so aware of the benefits of sleep for health that I was really stressed about if I'm not sleeping well, I'm going to wake my wife up. And so what you mentioned about people lying perfectly still, I would literally lie there like a statue because I was so afraid that if I moved, I would wake my wife up and I didn't want to disturb her sleep. So that definitely resonates. And interesting you mentioned that this because I remember us discussing sleep trackers and I was like, I don't use one because I'm a big fan of learning to listen to your body. And that's what like people that I work with, one of the big things I do, whether it's exercise or nutrition, is help people to learn to listen to their body. And I think you can over track things. And like the human body evolved over a long period of time for us to be able to look after ourselves inherently. And I think that's something that's often missing in the modern days, that we have access to so much, perhaps sometimes too much, but we lose that ability to be in touch with our body and to
Yeah,
learn to listen to the signals it gives us. Um, you know, for example, you know whether you had a good night's sleep last night based on how you felt, right?
exactly. If you wake
And
up and you feel refreshed and you make
yeah,
it through the day, then that's great. Just because your sleep tracker says a certain thing doesn't mean that that's necessarily true. And the same with, with weight. You might be getting exercising, getting fit, and putting on weight, but of course that's muscle. That's a good
yeah,
thing. But if you're
yeah,
just tracking your weight and thinking that the scales are the answer, you're going to start to be demotivated and feel sad. But what we really should be thinking is, well, how do my clothes fit? How strong do I feel? How much energy
100%.
do I feel I have? Which is far
Yeah.
more important than what the scales say.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that's really good. There's loads of stuff there as well, and I'm sure we could go on even further to
Yeah,
discuss that.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's some of the stuff that when I qualified as a virtual coaching specialist, technology was a big part of that, and talking about the different types of light that activity trackers use, and how even at your skin tone can affect that, and things like that. So I definitely think there's a place for tracking, but
Yeah.
I think it's got to be in the right situation for the right person. And the other thing that I don't know whether this also resonates with sleep as well, but something that I talk to people about is whatever you're doing now to achieve what you want to achieve, you've got to be willing to do that for the rest of your life and sustain it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be things that are sustainable and don't raise your levels of anxiety, and that you feel that you can fit into your life.
Although, although with CBTI being the sort of the treatment for insomnia, it does involve quite a harsh process at the beginning,
For
which
sure.
isn't how I want people to live the rest of their life. It's
Yeah,
a sort of a reset, because CBTI, being cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, is the treatment that we give someone whose sleep is really, really broken, who's really struggling to sleep. It's not just I see lots of people who want to optimize their sleep, and that's a different approach altogether. But if someone's sleep is really a problem and they're really stressed and they're really struggling, then the start of the CBTI process is very much about, it's almost like when you're like doing um, tidying your room, and you get everything out of all the cupboards and you just make a humongous mess, and it seems to get so much worse, but then you sort it out and you put it all back and it's lovely. That's kind of how CBTI works. It's like I'm undoing all the things you've been currently doing to help your sleep, and it seems to get a lot worse to start with. But what we do is we rebuild it, and we rebuild it well. So yeah, I just mean that the start of CBTI, people, I told you it would be really hard, because it is really hard, because the beginning is like a control alt delete reset format, just like completely restart. But then once we've got through the other side, it's when we're coming out of CBTI, it's about, okay, this is how I want you to remain in your life. This is how we want life to be, not
yeah, yeah.
that hard slog the whole way through.
Absolutely. I think it as well in my work, and certainly just, observing the industry I work in for a lot, January is a really interesting one because people go to the gym in January like 6 times a week. And then by March, they're not doing anything because 6 times a week wasn't sustainable for them. So, I guess, with the CBTI, the stuff that you do initially isn't what you want them to sustain forever. It's just to give them that boost to get them back on track. And that's
Yeah.
certainly the way it works for me. And I noticed quite quickly just the depth of my sleep, or my perceived depth of my sleep, really improved through going through that process. And then it's when you get to that good sleep that you want to do the stuff that sustains it. Or would I be accurate in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we do is lots of people's sleep is over a longer period, but it's not such great quality. And what we do
Yeah,
is we just like reduce the the quantity, but make it really good quality, and then we can expand on that. That's very much how it works, so that the sleep you're getting is really good sleep, not just the, oh, 10 minutes here and then I've woken up and I'm tossing and turning, and a little bit more sleep, which often people will do a lot of when they're struggling to sleep.
If anyone watching this is wanting to improve their sleep, just to give you an idea of the positives of the CBTI, actually, Lindsay did say to me, this is going to be hard. But as I was working through the process, I actually got to the point where the hardest bit was actually staying awake. Like my sleep drive was so
Yeah.
high, I was fighting really hard to stay awake as long as Lindsay wanted me to, and that was interesting, but it was also exciting at the same time. I was like, wow, I really want to sleep like
Mhm.
right now. And it was actually hard to fight that.
Yeah.
And that's a great stage to get at when you're like, wow, I've gone from being anxious, worried about getting to sleep or staying asleep to actually getting to the point where it's like, I don't feel like I can stay awake.
Yeah, because people who struggling with their sleep, they think they've lost the ability to, I've forgotten how to sleep, or I've lost the ability to sleep, or they genuinely, I hear this time and time again, people say, I feel like something's broken in me, that I can't sleep anymore. And nothing is broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you're so stressed and anxious about trying to force sleep, but that's actually taking away from your ability to sleep. So yeah, this process is about turning it on its head, and before you know it, you're like, oh my goodness, I desperately want to sleep, but I'm not allowed to. Which again, when you go to see someone like myself, to improve your sleep, the last thing you expect is that I'm actively stopping you from sleeping in some way. But it's all part of a bigger picture, and it's hugely effective. CBTI is so effective at improving people's sleep. It really, really is. But it only is if you do it. Just
Yeah,
like healthy eating exercise is massively effective, but not if you don't do it.
100%, 100% agree with that. And I think that's a nice kind of concluding point as well, because we've talked about, you know, it's going to be hard. It might, we talked about, the eating side of things as well, and how that might not be mega exciting, but you've got to know why you're doing it and what you're getting from it. And I think it's that whole, if you know the benefits, if you know the value to you in terms of your everyday life, and you're willing to take the actions and put in the work, you will get the benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, anyone can improve their sleep in the same way that anyone can improve their health by improving their exercise, improving their nutrition. It's all about learning and figuring out what the right things to do are, and just allowing yourself to do that. There's and that everyone can improve. They really, really can. No one's just a poor sleeper
No.
who can't get better.
No, and the reason I was so keen to do this chat is I just wanted to be able to help spread that message that if you're feeling tired, you don't have to put up with it. There are things you can do, and you don't. It's just not something that you have to live with, and you're not supposed to, it's not normal, normal to feel that way. It
Yeah.
might feel normal because you've done it so long, but there are things you can do, and there is light at the end of the tunnel and on the horizon. There are absolutely things you can do, and people that can help you with it as well.
Definitely.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else you think we haven't covered that you'd like to say, or do you think we've covered pretty much everything?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I think that's
Yeah,
good.
haven't
Yeah,
we? Yeah, yeah.
I think so.
And if people, so obviously, your book Navigating Sleeplessness is readily available. Where should they look for that if they want to find that?
It's on things like Amazon, Waterstones, WH Smith's, you can just the Kindle, that kind of
And how
thing.
can people find you if they want to find you?
Sure. So my website is troublesleeping.co.uk, and I'm on all social media at Dr. Browning Sleep, so at Dr. Browning Sleep. And yeah, you can just find me. I do like a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for. I'm always happy to answer any sleep questions. So just reach out to me, just DM me or email me, give me a call. I answer any sleep questions. And of course, I do loads of work with corporations, doing well-being sessions, that kind of thing, shift work, consultancy, as well as working with people individually to optimize their sleep, make improvements, and fix it when it's gone properly wrong.
Fantastic. And if anyone out there would like to get in touch with me or learn about more what I do, I'm Steve Shrieve. My company is Shrieve Health and Fitness. That's Shreeve. So you'll be able to find my website. It's www.shrevehandf.com, or just Google Shrieve Health and Fitness. And you'll also be able to find Shrieve Health and Fitness on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm Steve Shrieve on LinkedIn.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this, and
Thank you.
I hope people benefit from watching it and are excited to make positive changes to their sleep and get the health and performance benefits of those.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome. All right, thanks very much, Lindsay. Great to talk
Thank
to
you.
you, and I'll speak to you again soon.